Welcome back to a one-on-one with Mr. U. Of course, I am your host, Mr. U. In studio with us, life mastery coach, minister, author, podcaster, inspirational speaker, and good friend of mine, Donna Tashjian, is in the house with us today. Donna, how are you?
I am good, Yusuf. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. We had an awesome conversation. We're also a part of another community, so we get a chance to connect quite often. But customarily, I would love for you to share your childhood, your upbringing, where you came from, but kind of got you from where you were then to where you are now.
It's always a story and figuring out how people arrived at where
Always
they
a story.
are.
Always.
Now, I tell the story that I came into the world and a family that wasn't real happy. I was supposed to be a boy. So that's another
Not that one.
interesting tad bit. I'm not a boy. And my family later, my parents later on got divorced, and then my mother remarried, and it became part of a blended family. I went from the oldest to the middle, which is an interesting concept in the way that it's just interesting how it affects how we relate to things. And anytime you blend a family, there's bumps in the road and figuring out how to make that work. Then at the age of 15, I became a mother, and it wasn't consensual. So there's more story there, of course. And, think about where you were when you were 15. I mean, sometimes we forget. Yeah. We get to be older. It's just like, where were you when you were 15? Yes. And I was 18 with a 3-year-old, to try to think about the level of responsibility and the places that we don't expect to be. I had a beautiful little girl and I raised her. And finished high school. And by the time I was 18, I had my own place. I was working full time. And then shortly after, I began to go to college at night, all the while raising my daughter. And so learning to be able to traverse all of that, that's where I began.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a interesting story. There's definitely a lot of layers there you can tell, but thanks for sharing what you did. One thing, and there's a lot of things that I want to ask about, so hopefully it won't be muddled and we can get through as many as possible with the time frame that we have today. But one of the things that I always ask people who come in as coaches that are guests on our show, especially I hear the term life mastery. And I feel like I'm seeing that term pretty frequently or some kind of variation of it. Tell me, as a believer, where do you see Christ in that? Because some of the folks, and this is not for you, this is just something I've seen in past guests, when you talk about mastering your own life and life mastery, a lot of times they don't intend to have God be involved in it, unless they ask him to be for a specific thing they desire to have happen. But for the most part, they want to be in control of their own lives. Now, there is some caveat to that. There's some people who have had rough experiences, rough childhood, like you intimated, and they have a need for control because they never had it before. So now they want control in every area of their life. Tell me where you see Christ in the whole life mastery coaching business. If that question makes sense, I hope it does.
It does make sense. And I didn't really think of it that way when I began to use that phrase. And I began to use it for me from a place of, I'm not your average life coach. And I have learned to master some things. And I want to share what I've learned. And one of the key components of vibrant living and what I do is co-partnering with God to create your life. And without him, I don't know that I would be alive, but I definitely wouldn't be where I am at all. The forecast for a child becoming a mom is not great for their future. Yeah. And being able to know one of the reasons why I'm where I am is because I had a relationship with God as a 12-year-old. It started. So So God is definitely at the center of everything that I do.
No, I love that. I love that. That's something that, and I wasn't trying to make you say that. It was just something that I'm just thinking, because I hear that term so much. I just wonder what people mean by it, and you don't want to put it, a one size fit all approach to that. So that's why I wanted to ask that question. But thank you for answering that. You did fantastic. You do so many things that I don't even know where to start. But in regards to your work, you mentioned something called the spiritual intelligence method.
Mm-hmm.
Find that so interesting. I know that it's something that you trademarked and you've been doing this to help transform lives around the world and the country. What is that? What's the spiritual intelligence method? What is that?
Well, it began on a quest that I read in 2 Corinthians 4:8 that said the things that are seen are temporary, and the things that are unseen are eternal. And then in Hebrews 11:1, it says the substance of faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. But what I noticed in my years, at the time that it hasn't been that long that I have trademarked and created a name for what I do, but it's so much of teachings, messages in church, even our songs are all about coping with life.
Yeah, basically.
It's struggling to get through. I'm hanging on by, and I've got the last threads of that. I'm tying a knot in the end of the rope, that kind of mindset. And nowhere can I read that that's the way we're supposed to live our Christian life.
Mm.
And so I began to ask God this question and begin this quest of how do we live from the unseen? Because the unseen is eternal. And I need to bring the unseen to the seen to create God's kingdom on the earth and in my life. And how do you do that? And I don't think at least in my life, that wasn't explained. Live by faith. Well, what does that mean? And how do you do that? We have these Christianese that we use, just have more faith. And there's truth in it, but how? How when my face has hit the concrete one more time because of something happening in my life, how do I? And those are the things that I learned going through what I did without realizing it, and what God has put together in a simple way, because everything he does is simple. It's not complicated. So that we can begin to have handles on how to live from the unseen and develop our spiritual intelligence so that we can make a bigger impact in the world and in our own life.
That is so good. I love this. I love this. And you've been doing this. Have you been doing use this method for 30 years, or has it been a little shorter than that?
It's been shorter than that.
Okay.
I actually got a title of the message just about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
But I had the concept, but I had never put a name on. When you do something and you're like, how do I explain what I do?
Yeah, I can relate.
I think you might. And so when I was talking about it with the coach, she helped me come up with the title, Spiritual Intelligence Method.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I know it's just been a short amount of time. Have you seen any successes in the method for your clients? Have you seen anything you can share that's not too personal?
Absolutely. I was already using all of these tools, but I just didn't have a name for what I was doing per se. So it was just figuring out a way to present what I was doing and explain it, because it's difficult to explain something you can't see.
That is the truth.
I'm like, so how do I describe what I do when you can't quite see it yet? And figuring out how to do that. So through my programs, they give an idea of it. One is called Life by Design, Not by Default. And you may have heard this saying that say someone who's 70 years old, and we'll take him from the age of 20 to 70. Did he live 50 years, or did he live 1 year 50 times? And it's like same old, same old. This is the same. And we know that we've had years like that. and probably, and as well as other people that we know. And so life by design, not by default. And that was actually the laws of the spirit. And how does things operate from the unseen? How do we make it? And it's all biblically based on how that works in a way that you can like get it. It puts concrete on it. For example, let me just use one example is,
Okay.
and I'll tell you a story, is imagination. We all have it, but somewhere in our childhood, we used imagination all the time.
Oh,
We could be anything. And then as we got into school, you know, you needed to be practical and you needed to quit daydreaming and you needed to quit doing. And so we shut down our imagination for most of growing up, you know, depending upon your circumstances. But you needed to be realistic, right? You know, you needed to be practical with things. But then somewhere around when we get to be adults, we use our imagination. Guess what? We use it to terrorize ourselves. Think about it. You picture everything that's a worst case scenario that could happen in vivid color. And if you've got kids that were late getting home, it's even worse.
Even worse. The worst scenarios. You see them all in
Absolutely. And we begin to use our imagination for not what God gave it to us for. We are creative, just like our Father. And when we learn how to use our imagination in partnership with Him, we begin to create a life we love, not just existing. So that's one example of the things that I teach, and I go much more into depth. But it's shifting from what has happened with the imagination to what it was actually created to be and to be used for. So that's an example. One story I love to tell is a woman who runs a nonprofit organization, and she says it's for Black and brown kids. They're the higher at-risk children. And she brings the STEM program to them. And it's in school districts they don't have STEM programming. The education that this woman has given me about the inner city schools, I think most of us, anyway, I was totally shocked. But she brought this, and this was her passion. Now, she had her own crises in her life and things that had happened to her in her life. She had 2 kids. She was raising them by herself and had this nonprofit organization. When we began to work together, she is a strong, courageous woman with a passion and a vision, and she was working with 30 kids. And it was taken a lot just to get 30 kids. Now she's working with 1,000.
Wow.
And it's easier. She's now got a staff. She's now figured out how to take care of herself. Her health has improved. And she's actually got a personal life. If you're an entrepreneur, you get it. She's actually got, her kids are older and things like that. But she went from saying, this is hard, I can't take it, I don't know if I can take any more, to now she's thinking a visionary of maybe taking this nationwide. So
she's thinking like we're thinking. We're not discussing. We got a nonprofit for children, and we're doing something a little bit differently. But I can definitely see an opportunity for collaboration. Like, I know there's no stems in what we're in the area that we're working. So
yeah, well, maybe I need to introduce you to her.
I would enjoy that greatly. Who is your ideal client for this? If you could describe them in a sentence, if you can, who's your ideal client?
I think everyone needs a spiritual intelligence method. And I'm not just saying that. Every single believer needs to learn it, but my favorite people to work with. So I'm not turning anyone away, but my favorite people to work with are people who want to make a difference in the world. So I want to help the helpers. I want to help the ones that are making a difference so that they can in turn share this with others. So I work with leaders, aspiring leaders, people who are stepping into leadership. I step into people in corporations, in entrepreneurs, nonprofit organizations, all of the, I call them heart-centered visionaries. I'm trying to paint the picture of who I'm talking about. And usually when they begin to work with me, they have had some level of a success, but they've reached a level like I was talking about with this woman where I know there's more, but I don't know how to get there. I'm already feeling like I'm tapped out. I've reached certain level. How do I get past it without, totally giving up my health or my family or whatever? So without striving, without burnout, I really show you where the easy button is. It's called grace.
Where is
You
it?
gotta step into it.
Where is it? I want to press it right now. No, I love this. I love this. Here's the question I want to ask you. I want to move on to your podcast. Say somebody is listening right now, and you can speak directly to them. Say they're conflicted about their faith. They're not totally sold out to the idea like you and I may be, but they definitely have at least enough of a vision that you can see this as a game-changing vision. You can see this as a world-changing vision. How would you address them as a potential client? They're not totally where you are faith-wise, but they have such a big heart for the world and they want to do something great, and they have something somewhat in place. Would you be able to help them?
Absolutely. One of the things I'll start with I say often to people is I hate religion.
Join the club.
And a lot of people, that really takes them back because they look at me and think I'm religious. But I hate religion because religion is confining. What God wants with you, I'm speaking to you, is a relationship. And majority of us have been hurt by religion somewhere along the line. And so how do we overcome that to not let, if you will, somebody's opinion prevent you from having a relationship with God, and how to traverse that? But I have had people who are not of the Christian faith have their life transformed going through this. And so I don't turn anyone away if I feel like God wants me to work with them.
I love it. I love it. What do you want a potential client to know about you? I know in coaching, we can't make promises. We have to remind ourselves we have big hearts. We want to just help people and change the world and make things better. We have to be careful about or stopping short of making promises. But what do you want a potential client to know about you? What do you? Go ahead.
I do guarantee that if you do the program, if you do the work, your life will be changed. How it will be changed and what that's going to completely look like, I can't tell you exactly, but it will have more peace, more joy, and more easy button involved. So I can guarantee you, if you do the work and you do the system that God has given me, I guarantee results that you will have them. Absolutely.
I love this. I love that. Why did you start the Vibrant Living podcast? You're already a sought-after speaker. You got enough stuff going on. You're still doing coaching. Why did you decide? I always ask it to a podcast. Like, why did you decide to start a podcast? There's so many things you're doing already. Why are you adding a podcast schedule to your list of things to do? Why did you start doing that?
Well, I started the podcast 6 years ago. And when I started it, I didn't have a YouTube channel yet. I really fought videos.
I hear you.
I did not want to be on video, but there's a whole reason in my past of what being visible meant. And so I had to handle that. We had to work through that because I kept knowing I was supposed to be on video when I'm on camera almost all day long now. And so it's hilarious, but I figured that would be a way to reach people and like they could just hear my voice. I have been told repeatedly that there's something about my voice and what it carries. And so I wanted to be able to find a way to share that. I wouldn't have to be on camera, to be really honest, in the beginning. Now I've got a very active YouTube channel, but that was where I was started. And I was blogging and doing audios. And so that was where I began. And I wanted to highlight amazing people. And it gave me a platform to interview and to promote some amazing people, which I love to do. So those were my reasons for starting it. Not be everybody's, but that was mine.
No, I'm totally with you here. I want to ask this because I think you might be the perfect person to ask this question too. Because I started off. I mean, if you know anything about the history of our brand, we started audio. We did about 3 years of audio. So I got for the video thing as much as I could. Not because I think some of it was some level of introversion and just like, just wanted to kind of just
And editing them too is harder.
yeah, I want to keep things simple. I mean, I don't do much of editing at all. I kind of just lay it all out here. If you like it, hey, I'm glad. That's somebody else's job. They just haven't gotten here yet. But that's going to be their job. They want to edit. It's not going to be me ever. But I want to ask you this question though. Do you, even though I'm doing audio and video, and I do favor audio because I just kind of feel like I have a different light goes on when I'm doing audio. When I'm doing video like this, I feel like I have to look at things, I have to pay attention to my hands, and I have to look at. Do you kind of feel that that push and pull, audio versus video? Do you kind of feel like you have to do like it's like an uncomfortable push and pull of doing video of audio?
Like if my nose is itching on audio, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And if I want to take a drink, I can take a drink and it doesn't matter. It's just like, but on video, it's like, it is different. And when I very first started doing even Zoom calls, I would put my note taker over my face so that I would only look at the other person, because if I looked at myself, I became self-conscious and I didn't want that to be part of my conversation. I just wanted to be me. And so I've done those I told that to somebody else. They go, "Oh, that's a great idea." Like,
I didn't know you could do that. I'm like,
I move my note taker, which wherever I'm taking notes for the meeting, over my face, and so it's a split screen, and I just look at the person that I'm talking to, and I'm not concerned about whether my nose looks funny when I say that or whatever. And we all can get self-conscious, and as soon as I become self-conscious, I quit focusing on you. And that's not who I want to be. So I have learned to just be me. And if I'm rubbing my nose, I'm rubbing my nose in the process, and just be real. And I think people relate to that.
That's revolutionary. I didn't know you could put the note take over your face. Now that I know that, I'll be putting that into action more than likely, because I definitely want to do that more times than not. Okay, just time for a couple more questions that we can try to get those in, Donna. What was the most fulfilled you've been since you've been a podcaster? At what point would you kind of feel, you know what? This is good. This is the right direction. I'm really feeling good about this. I'm loving the responses. I'm loving the testimonials. Has there been a point yet that you've been the most fulfilled as a podcaster that you can highlight?
No, I don't feel like that podcast necessarily has been super fulfilling. It's just been something, but my favorite part is the people I get to meet. And I think that would be the highlight, is just some amazing people that are out there, and stories of resilience. It's just a wonderful thing.
I love that I can talk to you about this, because I don't think I can talk to a lot of folks that kind of get it. I don't know why. I feel like you can. It's just when we first started, I was doing a lot of the me speaking to the world. That was one of our first podcasts, and that was the style of it before we changed things around. But that was the style of it. I just felt like that was just the best thing in the world. I can just say what I want to say and then get out of here. Hit record, get it off my chest, whatever it is, and get out of here. But the most fulfilling thing for me is the interview shows like this. One-on-one show. It's been life changes. Is the best way to put it without too much hyperbole. It's been incredible. I've been meeting people all around the world, literally. And it's just growing. And I meet more folks from around the world. I'm like, wow. And I'm learning things as much as they're trying to teach us and share things with us and our audience. I'm learning so much from every person that comes through there. I didn't think that was possible, because I was living in the whole introvert deal. I didn't want to do anything too much. Keep it simple. Public events, just keep them short. I'll drop in and I'm dropping out. I'm not trying to hang around. You know what I'm saying? A nice comfy chair, nice warm blanket, something warm in my cup. I don't want to be bothered with all the things. And I lived here for a while. I mean, can you relate to this? I mean, I don't know, wasn't alone. So somebody to be here and interview people at the rate that we interview people, it's like, are we doing this? And it's at a high level, but we enjoy it.
Yeah,
we fulfilled in this. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, I didn't think it was possible. This will be really good, right?
Yeah. And then we need the downtime with our blankie.
I've forgotten about it. The blankie's right over here. It's still going to happen, but I'm just seeing the whole a little bit differently now. I'm like, wow, this is. I'm excited about interviewing people. This is really, really good.
Yep.
So this is being great. All right, final question for you. I think you know what's coming. This is our CMV question. It's the one that we ask all of our guests when they come through. It's the last question of the day. In most cases, that the guest is something interesting or something that kind of stirs something in me, I might tag another question on the end, but generally, this is the last question of the episode. So I'm taking everything you've done off the table, your author work, your inspirational speaking work, your podcast work, your ministry work, your coaching work, everything you've done before you even knew who I was, off of the table. What is Donna most likely doing today? Career-wise, if it's a vocation, if it's a mission, what are you doing today? More than likely, that you haven't done yet. You haven't touched it yet. I don't have any Jeopardy music, so just
the silence there for a minute. What am I doing that I haven't done? I am speaking on large stages, really large stages. I've seen it. I just haven't done it yet.
Talking to corporate people in the corporate world, TED Talks, that kind of thing.
No, it is. The most that I've experienced would be like a Joyce Meyer weekend.
Oh, wow. Those are huge.
So that, whether it's that big or not, she didn't start that big, but that kind of feel.
Wow. But this is the goal, isn't it? This is something you want to accomplish.
Actually, I'm shaking when I think about it, but it is something that I have seen in my spirit for a lot of years. But I'm willing to say yes.
Can't wait to see you do that. With the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'd love you to speak to the people. Encourage them however you feel like you want to do that. And then after that, let people know where they can find your work, or whatever order you want to do that in. Let people know where they can find your work, and then you can just share whatever's on your heart for the listeners and the viewers, and then we'll get out of here. Go ahead.
The best way to reach me is my website. I am on social media as well, but my website is a host of variety of information, my podcast, my blog, and most importantly, any upcoming events, as well as a way to schedule a consultation with me. I call it a wisdom consultation. It's not a sales pitch. It's a place where you and I meet together and we get wisdom from heaven for what is going on in your life. And so that is available as well. What I would like to say in closing today is to not look at your past as your future. And one of my favorite declarations is my past doesn't determine my future, unless I let it, is a caveat. And so every day for a lot of years, I got up and said, my past doesn't determine my future. Because everything from my past, my shaky, scared girl beginning and introverted and all of those things, when I talk about being on a stage, everything within me says, did say, that doesn't say anymore. Who do you think you are? And so we have those voices that speak to us, but they don't have to define us unless we let it. So what's the dream in your heart that you haven't gone after yet? What is it that you haven't, that you put you a little shaky in your boots, but that you want to know how to accomplish? I am a destiny activator. I help you to step into that from a place of grace and ease. And if no one else has told you, I believe in you, and I would love to talk to you.
Love that. Donna Tashjian in the house. Vibrant Living International. Thanks for joining us. It's been fantastic. I'm glad it's not the last time I'm going to see you. We're still in community together, so I'll see you often, but this has been a fantastic interview. Thanks for taking the time to be here and doing this for me.
My pleasure.
Same here. Donna and Mr. U, we're out of here. Have a great day. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll be on all listening platforms, probably within about 2 hours from now. You can find this episode and many more on all listening platforms and on the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.